The Sumerians, Babylonians and Ethiopians were black people. They contributed much to the advancement of civilization. Because they studied astrology, they were capable of formulating many principles of astronomy. These black people were so sagacious and skilled that they were able to divide years into months, weeks, hours, minutes and seconds. In mathematics, they developed the decimal system. The most famous of the Babylonian kings was Hammurabi, who ruled about 2150 BC. He was outstanding for codification of a system of laws founded on retaliation as the punitive measure for a crime. He also established a 7-day week with the last day a rest day or Sabbath. This idea, adopted by the Hebrews and then transmitted to the Greeks, Romans and other Europeans. The literature of the Babylonians is quite interesting. Long ago, these black people wrote with a sharp instrument on clay tablets. Thousands of these tablets have been found, and some of them disclose a popular work known as the Enuma Elish, or the creation epic. The story of how the world began derived from the Babylonians. After the dispersal of mankind at the Tower of Babel, the Black Hamites migrated towards the east, south, southwest and the west. These Black Hamites settled in the land of Canaan. That's right, the same land that later on is called Israel. The land of Canaan gets its name from the youngest son of Ham, who was Canaan. The Canaanites were the primordial aborigines of the land of Canaan. We may call them Africans because of their blood relationship to the other inhabitants of the African continent. There were 11 Canaanite tribes living in the land of Canaan and surrounding it before the black Israelites possessed it. The greatest cultural and commercial cities of these black Canaanites were Tyre and Sidon, sometimes written Zidon. This great city gets its name from Sidon, the firstborn son of Canaan. The Sidonians and the Tyrians were of the same race, and their kings ruled over both these cities. In many history books, you will read about the Sidonians under the name Phoenicia. The Greeks called the Sidonians under the name Phoenicians, which translates to land of palm, because they found a lot of palm trees there. But the Sidonians called their nation by the name of Canaan, which is of course Canaan. Phoenicia, or land of the Sidonians, was located to the north of Palestine, land of Canaan, along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, bounded by that sea on the west and by the mountain ranges of Lebanon on the east. Tyre and Sidon were founded about 2300 BC. The Tel El Amarna tablets show that Tyre was a place of great strength in the 15th century BC. Sidon was still older. For a long time, it was the only black Phoenician city known to the Greeks. Even after Tyre took the leadership, the Greeks and the Hebrews spoke of the Phoenicians as Sidonians, and King Etbaal of Tyre is called King of the Sidonians. These black people were proficient in philosophy, astronomy, geometry, arithmetic and navigation. They had good harbors, which enabled them to navigate to distant lands such as Cyprus, Sardinia, Crete, Rhodes, Cadiz, which is Spain, Sicilia, Carthage in North Africa near Tunis, Tangier, Ophir and Canary Islands. These Phoenicians were skilled also in metalwork, needlework and embroidery. They extracted dye from shellfish abounding in the adjacent waters. This dye became known later as Tyrian purple. They made glass from the white sand of the Mediterranean coast. The Phoenicians spoke a Hamitic Semitic language so closely allied to the Hebrew that the Phoenician and Hebrew, though different dialects, may practically be regarded as the same language. As it was previously stated, there were 11 Canaanite tribes: Zidonians, Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgasites, Hivites, Arkites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Hebrew has its origin in the Canaanite language. When Abraham came from the regions of Babylon in the land of Canaan, he found the Canaanite language similar to his own language. Abraham communicated very well with the inhabitants of the new land, adopted the Canaanite language, made certain modifications, and it became known as Hebrew. The Hebrew language was very similar to the Canaanites, says the Bible Dictionary. Phoenician or Canaanite can be classified as an African language because the Canaanites were blood brothers of the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Nubians, Sudanese, and other Africans. The Phoenicians established a colony in North Africa called Carthage, and they, the Carthaginians, always considered themselves Canaanites. When Moses led the black Israelite out of Egypt, northeast Africa, Moses died in the wilderness. Then Joshua led the Israelites into the land of Canaan and dispossessed the Canaanites from their land. Now it is written in a Khazar Jewish book called Talmud. It says, "For when the Africans came to plead against the Jews before Alexander of Macedon, they said, 'Canaan belongs to us,' as is written, 'the land of Canaan with the coast thereof.' And Canaan was the ancestors of these people. These Canaanites or Africans were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua. About 332 BC, Alexander of Macedon conquered Palestine. As stated above, the Africans came to Alexander claiming that the land of Canaan belonged to them. The point I want to elucidate is that these Canaanites considered themselves Africans. Consequently, we can correctly say that the Hebrew Canaan language is one of the African languages. Many of the private houses of these black people were equipped with cisterns for storing water. The wealth of Phoenicia or Carthage was predicated on clandestine technical procedures in manufacture, secret mines of advantageous and expensive metals, concealed secret trading posts in the remote areas from Ethiopia to the Pillars of Hercules in Greece. Their knowledge of navigation enabled them to reach the British Islands and the Arctic Ocean. The English alphabet derived from the two ancient black nations, the Phoenician Canaanite alphabet and the Hebrew. The Phoenicians had a powerful navy. They were a great trading people. When the Phoenicians traded with the Greeks did not have an alphabet in order to transact business. As a result, the Greeks adopted the Phoenician alphabet in order to transact business with the Phoenicians. The Greeks then, on their turn, passed the alphabet to the Romans, and the Romans, on their turn, passed it to the German Anglo-Saxon tribes. Then it was brought to the British Islands. The first two letters of the Phoenician and Hebrew alphabet were Aleph or Alpha and Bet or Beta, which is similar to the world alphabet. The black Phoenicians also gave a system of weights and measures to the Europeans. The city of Carthage was called the Queen of Sea. The Carthaginians controlled commerce in the Mediterranean Sea. A new nation emerged in the peninsula of Italy, Rome, which challenged the commercial interest and supremacy of Carthage in the Mediterranean. This state of hostility led to the three long wars called the Punical Wars. The first Punic War was in the years of 264-41 BC, mostly naval battles, which Italy won. The second Punic War was fought in the years of 218-201 BC. A black general by the name of Hannibal was the extraordinary figure who did what was considered the impossible by crossing the Alps with elephants. In Italy, he was victorious over the Romans. He was very resourceful and crafty. When he got into a difficult situation at one time, he drove the herds of cattle into the Romans. His unexpected victories amazed and terrified the city of Rome. But at the end, because of the lack of men and supplies, he had to return to Africa in Carthage. The Third Punic Wars was in the years of 149-146 BC and fought at Zama in Africa. Because Hannibal's skills in warfare, his strategy is taught in military colleges around the world.